Welcome to the Dream Life is Real Life podcast with your host, Hanna Hermanson, bringing you real-life stories of people who realized their dreams to educate and inspire you to create your legacy of abundance now.
Okay, you guessed it. We are back, and today I'm hanging out with KrisAnn Connery. After 6 years of teaching in an inner-city alternative high school, helping students develop skills and beliefs they never knew they had, KrisAnn decided to step out of the classroom and pursue her passion to help women realize their potential through starting a business. Color Me a Dreamer is what she started. And KrisAnn is now a life coach for women who are ready to say yes to themselves and no to self-doubt, perfectionism, and all the things standing in the way of making the changes they desire. Because so many women fall into this cycle of wanting to change, feeling a little discomfort, and then giving up. So KrisAnn steps in and helps end this cycle by providing the support, strategy, and accountability they need to be successful. Hello, KrisAnn, and thanks for being here.
Thank you, Hanna, for having me on your show. Awesome to be here.
Yes. Well, I just love what you are all about as an educator and a teacher, and now really getting to the root of what is holding people back, right? Like that is so true in your bio. We want to change, we want to be amazing, and then it gets a little bit uncomfortable and we're back. And for me, it's like in the self-doubt, in the inner critic, in the holding myself back. So I just know you're going to have so much to share with us today.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
Yeah, so I always like to ask before we dive into, the inner critic and all of that, where in the world are you right now? Where are you located?
I am in Washington State, actually.
Washington State. So we're in the same time zone. Very good.
Yes, we are.
And have you always been on the teaching path in Washington, or give us just a little bit about where you're coming from, your story, I guess.
Yeah, actually, it was in high school. I had an English class where the teacher assigned me and a partner a chapter in the book and said, you get to teach and you can create a quiz if you want to and quiz the kids. And I did that and I loved it. So from that point, I was like, I want to be a teacher.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know what I wanted to teach. I thought I wanted to teach English, and then turns out I was on a flight down to Mexico for a mission trip, sat next to someone, and told them I wanted to be an English teacher. And they were like, oh, well, you must love reading and writing. I said, no, I hate reading and writing. And they're like, then don't be an English teacher. So after that, I kind of was like, oh, you're probably right. So then I was like, oh, I'm kind of good at math. I guess I'll be a math teacher. Mm. So then I did it. I mean, I did the college and got out, graduated, and then that year got a job, did it for 6 years. And yeah, I really wanted to help youth where kind of they're turning into adults and trying to figure out what they want to do with their life. And I really wanted to be that positive influence and role model. And so that's why I chose high schoolers. And I think it's great to have summers off.
Yes. Oh my gosh. No, I'm resonating with you so much. And I think that what you just shared are really common occurrences. When we're young, we like this. Or for me, I think quizzing or telling other kids what to do was fun, but I also just saw teachers all the time, and they had nice school supplies and they had summers off, and I was like, this is what most women do, I guess. So I'll be a teacher too. And then super similarly, my mom was like, you don't want to be in education, right? You don't like English, or, the kind of feedback you got. And I was like, oh, that's right. I'm not that interested in little kids. So I'll go to college kids and still have nice school supplies. And I just followed that path. I didn't ever think too outside of the box. It was like, okay, well, if I don't like kids, or if I don't like English, I'll just do a different job in education and follow the right path. And now here we are. So you decided to leave the classroom. What was that transition like for you, and what helped motivate this decision to become a life coach?
A few things actually. Well, one, I have my daughter. And so I just wanted to be with her more. And I felt like, yes, I have the summer with her, but during the year, there's just so much to do as a teacher. And I feel like I'm more devoted to these students in my classroom more than my daughter. And so that was one thing that kind of opened my eyes to maybe some different opportunities. Another piece was that where I'm at, since it's an alternative school, the students don't receive things well. And so it's kind of a very negative environment just because of the specific school that I'm at. And I was just like, these kids are really, really, really resistant to change. And it's great when I can get through to some of them, but I feel like I have more potential to give. And so I'm like, you know what? There are women out there who really need my help. And so that is kind of where my heart turned. And so also financially, that's always another thing, like, hey, maybe something different would help. And then, I guess choosing life coaching came from kind of my own self-development. So I guess probably about 4 or 5 years ago, I made some poor choices emotionally with an ex, and then kind of got emotionally burnt again. And I found myself in my mother's office, and I was, just bawling my eyes out. And she sat there and just kind of listened to me be like, hey, I screwed up again. And she said, there's some things I need to tell you. And, but I don't think now is a good time to tell you. And I was like, okay, well, why would you say that? Okay.
But lay it on me. I'm like an all-in type of person too. That's the worst thing to tell me. Like, oh, no, you're telling me now.
Exactly. And that's what I said. Yeah. I was like, I'm not waiting for this sometime. I'm not going to be able to sleep at night thinking like, oh, my mom has something to say to me. Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. So she finally gave in and was like, okay, well, you are selfish, you're manipulative, you're codependent, and you don't value others. And yeah.
Sorry. I'm just with you on this story, and that would be really powerful to hear from someone so close.
Right. It was kind of brutal, right? Your mom saying these things to you. Mm-hmm. But it hurt. But at the same time, I was like, holy cow, that is actually true. I see those qualities in myself. And I guess, they were hidden away. And I was like, oh, no, I'm not really like that. But then it was like, it was out in the open. And someone else was telling me these things. And so it's like, okay, it's got to be the truth. And it is. And I don't want to be this way. Mm-hmm. So from that point forward, I've, been on this self-improvement journey. And and so that slowly got me to a point where it's just now like, okay, I've been through this. Mm-hmm. There are others out there who maybe have heard these things about themselves or feel these ways about themselves. I want to get them to feel how I feel now.
Yeah.
So,
this is why I love like teachers and leaders and powerful entrepreneurs, is that we can't just keep it to ourselves. Right. And so I'm so inspired by your story and hearing that, like, look, I had a low point. I got called on my crap. I wasn't who I wanted to be or who I am now, but I know there are other people who just need these tools, because I'm assuming you, like you said, it took a slow personal development process, right? Like piecing together, like, what do I need to do? Like, what are my next steps? So I love that you're now committed to sharing that with other people and life coaching. But do you feel like you may give people kind of like a shortcut to what you had to go through? Or what do you feel like the process is that you are able to give people now? Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. And definitely. It took me, 5 years? That's because I didn't know what I was doing. Mm-hmm. For so many of those years, I was just like kind of sitting in it being like, okay, how do I change? Very slowly. So yeah, now I'm like, okay, I have this process that, starts with kind of recognizing those things about yourself if you don't know them already, and then pretty much redefining yourself and moving forward with that. So like affirmations, visualization, gratitude. Oh man, that's
it's like mindset, right? So like
exactly that. You took the words right out of my mouth.
Okay, yeah. Well, because I think when I think about you, and we've chatted outside of this conversation, I would never think that you are like selfish or manipulative. And so to be so far from that person, like it took work, and I believe everything comes from within. So it sounds like if a woman, or if someone's listening to this and they're thinking like, oh man, I don't actually know what people think about me, but I have this feeling that I'm not the best I can be. What is the first thing you would tell someone that is in this, like listening, like, okay, KrisAnn, like I might be where you were or somewhere on that path. What do I need to do? What's my first step?
I think the first step would be to identify those things about you. So then you could, I guess, replace those traits. So it's like, okay, well, I recognize that I'm selfish. I don't want to be selfish. So recognizing, okay, what are those specific areas that maybe you are selfish in? Because maybe it's not, you're selfish with everyone. Maybe you, like I'm a mother, so I'm not selfish with my daughter, right? I give her whatever she wants. But maybe I am selfish when it comes to sharing things with my husband or something, or my mom, and I'm like, oh no, this is mine, I don't want to share. So identifying what role you're in when you're being selfish, that would be the first step. And then figuring out, okay, what role do I really want to, or not what role, but what characteristic do I really want to have in that role with that person? And then
what do I want it to be? Yeah. Okay. And I'm guessing this is something you help people through, like, because I'm sitting, I think this is a really challenging question, right? If you're in a rut or you're stuck or you're just not feeling your best, like, how do you start to tease apart the role versus the desire? And so I'm guessing this is something now that you get to help people with. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Because I can totally relate, and I wasn't even at the place that I could realize that I was selfish. What I was realizing when my sort of transformation started was I was seeing everyone else's. I was blaming and pointing the finger outside of me, like everyone else is selfish, everyone else doesn't understand, everyone else is greedy, whatever. And Jack Canfield, my mentor, was like, okay, so what are the things that are challenging you about people in your life, right? I was very general. I was just like, nobody gets me. I don't fit in. No one, I was just like blaming. It's like, okay, so what are the things you're observing in these other people? Because Hanna, if you spot it, you got it. So if you can see in your life, listeners, right now, that everyone around you is being selfish or boring or doesn't want to invest in themselves, like, okay, there's something in you. Otherwise, you wouldn't even be able to recognize that. And so my first step was to translate that, like, okay, I think my mom is being selfish and she's not listening to me and she doesn't know what I actually want. She's not compassionate. And so Jack Canfield said, so you need to be unselfish. You need to become more compassionate. You need to become more understanding. And dang it, he was right. Because when you start to embody, right, those qualities, that mindset, that feeling, those energies, that vibration, like you only attract more of that. And so I love that you're talking about, like, start to identify, like, where are you now and where do you want to be? Because if you don't have any sense of that, you're just a victim. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that he's spot on there. And yeah, it goes back to, taking responsibility for your actions, and honestly, like, seeing how you're feeling can really show you what you're thinking. And if you know what you're thinking, you could change your thoughts and you could change your feelings. But you can't change anyone else, right? You could only change yourself. So that's why it's key to take responsibility for yourself figure out what you're thinking that's causing all these things. But I like how you said, yeah, he identified all these things for me. And it's like, oh man, yeah, I really need to work on that. But then, did he leave you to work on it on your own, or did you work with him? Because I think that's key. And that's what slowed my process down, was I didn't work with anyone for so long. So it took me a really long time because I didn't have that accountability with someone else. It was like, oh, I'm accountable to myself. That's enough, which never is, because I can easily write off myself.
Yes.
And so it's that accountability piece that really helps fast track that process to get you from where you are to where you want to be and who you want to be ultimately.
Oh my gosh. It's so true. Yeah, of course I had to work. I wasn't only working with him, right? I worked with all these other people. I just hired an athletic trainer. Like, if you have been listening to this show for a while, I'm a yoga teacher, I'm a spin teacher, I run marathons. Like, I can get myself to the gym. Period. Okay, I go. Right? I can read the books. You can do the exercise, literally, people. But if you don't have someone holding you accountable to actually like push yourself and to go past your comfort zone and to realize that there's like all of these other machines in the gym that I was never using. Like, it was just such a good metaphor for me to be like, dude, my trainer, his name is Matt. I'm like, why haven't I ever done this before? I mean, for 20 some years, I've been working out on my own, and I didn't apply these concepts of accountability and push and mentorship to my like athletic ability. So anyway, now I'm just kind of like having this realization with you as you bring that up. Like, in every aspect of your life, you will go farther, faster with accountability, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So how do you hold your clients accountable from getting from where they are to where they want to be? What does your support look like? Or what do you think people need, maybe?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think they need the accountability every week at least, because if you can check in on your goals each week, you're going to, you have a deadline, right? Having that deadline is what gets things happening. And of course, for many of us, it's okay having that deadline so I could wait and then procrastinate at the end. At least you're getting it done, right? But at the same time, it's learning, okay, how do I space that out and how do I do the work over that time? And I think, so I think checking in every week is key. Having that face-to-face time and saying, okay, what did you accomplish? What goals of yours did you accomplish? What didn't you accomplish? Okay. Why do you think you didn't accomplish them? How do you feel about that? What are your thoughts around that? Let's figure out, where do you want to go next, right?
Yes, I love that. It's this combination. It's like scaffolding. We have a lot of teachers listening, right? It's like, I have this plan. I have this roadmap. I see where my client wants to get, and I need to week by week, day by day, give them the bite sizes, see how far they can go. And I think that is the combination, right? It's not just about having someone to hold your hand through the crap. It's about knowing that you have someone to hold your hand through the crap, and they're not going to just keep you in the crap, right? Because you can have bad accountability. You can have enablers. You can have drinking buddies. You can have lots of people holding you accountable. But it's finding those people, right? Like we hear, surround yourself with the 5 people you want to be the most like. And identifying the people who have the support and the strategy, that's like literally a line from your bio, I think. So I'm loving it. This is great. Let's talk a minute about because as much as you can have an accountability and a mentor and a plan, like what are some of the daily things that you think people need to prioritize in order to actually make sure they do get from where they are to where they want to be?
Yeah, great question. I think that starting your morning out right is important. So, I'm a firm believer that not picking up your phone first thing is important. So with me, I think like affirmations in the morning are really good to get you in that vibration, right? You want to be that vibrational match. So to help with that are affirmations. If you meditate or at least practice some breathing techniques to just kind of set your mind kind of where you want it to be for the day. And then also like gratitude. If you sit down and just journal and just kind of write some things that you're grateful for, take a few minutes. I think that is so important. I mean, I'm sure many of your listeners have heard of Brene Brown and her work. She talks about how like those who state that they're more joyful, they practice gratitude. And I think I agree. It's key. It's like, if you can't be grateful and like negative at the same time. Mm-hmm. So it's like, okay, I am grateful for this morning coffee. I am grateful for the air that I'm able to breathe. Mm-hmm. I'm grateful for this morning time that I can set up and be productive in my day. So those are just a few off the top of my brain, things that I think are very important.
I think it's like everything. And listeners, you may have heard me say this before. If you think that these things are cliche, or you're like, I already know this, it's because they work, right? Like things are cliche because we've been saying them for a long enough period of time that like, it's not a fluke. It's not a phase, right? And a lot of times, because, I coach people with businesses, and it's so often that we want to get into the like, what's the like strategy? What's the daily message I need to send? What's the check box I can check off every single day? And like, okay, that's part of it, but it actually, none of that is ever going to be supported. Those tactics will not work unless your mindset, right? The work that you're talking about, these foundational, taking a deep breath, having gratitude, not looking at your phone first thing in the morning, checking in with your own self before you check in with the WWW world. I'm like, I feel like I'm in a soapbox because I just so appreciate what you're saying. And I think it's so important for people to really hear, not just hear it again. Oh yeah, I should take 5 minutes more. Hear that this is a huge piece of the missing links between where you are and where you want to be. You might already know it, but are you doing it?
Absolutely.
Are you doing it? Yeah. All right. Well, Ms. Connery, I know you're not in the classroom anymore, but I have a pop quiz for you. Are you ready for the last 3 questions?
Hope I pass.
Okay. Question number 1, you've already given us a ton, but I always like to just kind of like zero in and make sure people can leave with these action steps. So number 1, what is one thing listeners can do today to help them get closer to their dream life?
Set up a morning routine where they are reading over their affirmations, either meditating or practicing some breathing for at least like 2 minutes, and sitting down and writing out some gratitude statements.
Affirm your goals, be grateful, take some deep breaths.
Absolutely. Yep.
No excuses for 2 minutes, man. Beautiful. A+. Question number 2 is, if you could give every listener a gift, a tangible resource, what would you want them to have?
Definitely a gratitude journal so that they can have no excuse to write those things down. I'll give them a pen too.
Put it to paper. I love it. Finally, where can people stay connected with you and learn more about the work you do?
Yeah, awesome. So actually, I have a free little 7-day gratitude challenge for your listeners. They can find that and me on colormeadreamer.com/start here. They'll be able to hop on and join that free challenge, and they'll learn more about me.
I love it. Okay. colormeadreamer.com/start here. Amazing. Yeah, I know you have tons of other resources, but it makes sense that the gratitude journal, since we talked so much about that, and that challenge sounds great. Thank you. We love free gifts around here.
Yeah, I love giving free gifts.
Yes. Well, thank you for sharing your other gifts of wisdom and insight with all of us today. We really appreciate your vibes and your teachings. So, listeners, say goodbye to KrisAnn for now. Go check out colormeadreamer.com/start here. And we'll be back next week with another inspiring guest that will help you make your dream life your real life.
You've been learning how to make your dream life your real life with Hanna Hermanson. To get the resources mentioned on today's show and to listen to past episodes, visit www.dreamlifeisreallife.com.